Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, 4 years ago in Sochi, he became the first person to win an Olympic gold medal in the men's ski halfpipe. This year, he's still the only person to win a gold medal in that event, defending his title in Pyeongchang this past winter. But skiing is not all he does. So we'll hear about his other accomplishments as well. Here with me now is two-time Olympic gold medalist David Wise. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Hometown boy, it's awesome to have you here.
Oh man, it's good to be here for sure.
Yeah, nice to be home, I imagine.
Very nice to be home. It's not, you know, I'm an adventure seeker at heart. I'm always looking for something new to experience, and I love that part of my job. I get to travel and experience new cultures, learn new languages. But there's nothing like coming home, especially when you've been on the road for as long as I have. It definitely feels good to be here.
Yeah, I believe that. And now rocking some awesome new hardware.
Got
Look
some
at
new
this.
bling,
yeah. And you know, this is just, you know, couldn't settle for any less than 2 gold medals.
I mean,
right?
I started with 1 gold, so what was I going to do the second time?
Yeah, well, I've got the first one here. You know, definitely the coolest prop I have ever gotten to hold up on Face the State. So I feel pretty cool about this. This is your Sochi medal. We've got your Pyeongchang medal over here. Obviously nothing is better than the first time, but does the second one feel just as meaningful to you?
Absolutely, they're meaningful in they're meaningful in a lot of different ways, but the second time around was a different journey. The first one, I was on a hot streak. I had won 3 X Games in a row going into it. It felt like to me, it felt more like carrying the momentum that I already had. Whereas this time it was kind of a battle back. It was like I had a couple of years in the middle where I was injured and I had concussions and personal difficulties and just so many things that I felt like were weighing me down. And I just needed to like shrug all those things off and get back to where I wanted to be. So it definitely was a different journey. I feel like for the sports perspective too, Sochi wasn't the best representation for our sport. I mean, we were in some of the worst conditions we ever compete in Sochi, whereas this time around in Pyeongchang, we had absolutely the best conditions, as good as it gets. The sun was out, the pipe was perfect, everybody was skiing really well. So it was an honor both times. I feel very fortunate to be able to represent my sport as the Olympic champion, but I feel like the whole sport won more this time than just me winning. So yeah, I'm super grateful.
That's really awesome. And you had your whole family with you there this year. I saw in the videos. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of the things maybe that was missing in Sochi as well. My wife and immediate family came, but in Sochi, but my daughter was a little too young to make it all the way to Russia. This time around, early on, long before I ever punched my ticket, I booked my family's tickets. I was like, look, you got how many times can I go to the Olympics, and how many times can I have the opportunity to send my family? So I just hit the button on the computer and said, all right, you guys are going to go to the Olympics whether I go or not. And so obviously some pressure was off my shoulders when I qualified for the team, and having them there supporting me, being able to see them from the bottom of the halfpipe when I finished a run, that was an amazing, unreal experience. I truly think that my most important job is being a good husband and father. That's my first and foremost job. If I never succeed at anything else in skiing again, and I'm still a good father, then I feel like I've done what I am on this earth to do. So having them there to be part of the journey with me was the best honor there could be.
What an amazing memory for them too. And I want to take a look. We have the video of your gold medal winning run that actually you posted on your YouTube page. If you haven't checked it out, his YouTube page is actually very cool. Mr. David Wise, right?
Yep.
So let's take a look at your gold medal winning run here. So your first 2 runs didn't go exactly how you wanted. What were you thinking during this run?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I tend to, if I'm going to win, I win it early. Like it's just sort of like, oh, Dave's on today, you know, and there's nothing that can stop me. So I was kind of baffled when on my first run was shaping up to be one of the best runs of my life, and I just walked out of a ski. It wasn't like I made a huge mistake or had a bad takeoff or a bad landing. I just walked out of a ski, and I was surprised and I was flustered. But I can speak to the things that I sort of had to overcome in the interim years between Sochi and Pyeongchang. Really served me in that time, because it was intense. I mean, the Olympics is as intense of a competition as I can possibly, as any athlete can go into, and having those outside of your control issues happen on game day. It wasn't like I walked out of a ski in practice. It wasn't like I walked out of a ski in practice 2 days before. It was an uncharacteristic binding issue in the competition run, and to be able to just shrug that off and do another run, that's the hardest part. But because of all the things that I had been through, because at the end of the day I knew that I was just fortunate to be out there doing what I love. I was able to drop in and I honestly, before I dropped in for my third run, said to myself, I exist. I feel like I was created. I was put on this planet to glorify God, not glorify myself. So I was like, if that's how He wrote the story, if God wants me to not get the glory and He wants to get the glory in some other way, through my failure perhaps, I'm okay with that. And so I was okay with failing or succeeding. I just wanted to go. I wanted to do the run that I came there to do, and I pulled it off. And beyond that, I didn't really. I mean, obviously I care. I'm a competitor. I want to win. But I truly, after I had landed that run through the issues, I was so satisfied. I think that's what I skied up to the bottom and just screamed, "That's game over!" And I wasn't trying to like put my competitors down. I was just trying to say, "Hey, that's what I came here to do." And I really felt like that was one of the greatest moments of my career.
And you knew? Did you know right then that was going to be gold?
I knew it was going to move into first place, but I was early in the early in the pack. I was kind of middle of the way, and so there was a bunch of really talented guys who were still to drop. So I knew I was going to move into first place up to that point, but I didn't know it. I didn't know how it was going to play out.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, we also have video of you on the podium getting that gold medal. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. And I want you to tell me, because this is one of those situations where I think for those of us watching at home, it's an emotional thing, and it's so cool. You have to be so proud. What was going through your mind at that time?
One of the things for me about the Olympics is I really feel like it's my opportunity, but it's also my responsibility to share the journey with everybody. Because I can't take credit for everything that I have. I can't take credit for all of the people who sacrificed along the way, from my parents to my teachers to my coaches, to the people on my immediate team, ski techs, doctors. Everybody sacrificed to get me to the position I'm in. I'm the guy in the spotlight, but I'm not responsible for it. So for me, like, that's when it hit me. Standing on the podium is like, we did this. You know, it wasn't I did this. This is my. It was like we did this, and it was just an amazing. I mean, you can't be anything other than overcome with emotion when you hear the Star Spangled Banner. And it was like the lights were shining in my face, and it had just started dumping snow, like pounding snow, and it doesn't snow real hard in that region of Korea very often. So it just felt like a fated moment. It was just like, and I was just like, whoa, this is crazy.
You kept it together very well.
I tried.
I think I would have been a mess.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. Okay, and you know, as I mentioned earlier, your family was there. You talked about your two little kids, and I imagine that has to be a big motivating factor for this next step you've taken. I've got to talk about this because this is really cool. You wrote a children's book.
Yeah.
You got Very Bear and the Butterfly here. I don't know how many Olympic skiers end up writing children's books. So tell me the decision. What went into this decision?
It's kind of it was a long journey, and I'm just as surprised by the fact that you're holding that book in your hand as I am by the fact that I have this gold medal around my neck. It's really something that you shoot for the stars, but you don't ever. I've learned to not expect things, because as soon as you expect them, then you're putting your hopes in something that's outside your control, and you're setting yourself up for failure. I always hoped to write books. I hope to write more books, but it started out with my daughter when she was first born, and we would travel with her all the time. We would almost always read books to her before bed, but every once in a while on the road, we'd forget a book, or she'd get bored of the ones that we had, and so I would just make stories up out of my head. And I've always been a reader. I've always loved stories, so I just would make them up, just, you know, random things. The mouse and the grasshopper or whatever. And one of the ones that she loved was the butterfly and the bear, which ironically was about me. Like, when I first told her the story about the butterfly and the bear, it was because my wife has always called me Bear, and I've always called her Butterfly, because I called her Butterfly because I felt like she just floated around the room. Whenever she entered the room, she just had an energy that just lit up, and she just was never touching the ground. And she calls me Bear because I have every aspect of a bear's personality. I can be grumpy or fierce or kind or loving or angry, all of the stuff. And so she called me Bear. And so the story is about, it's about me, but it's about a bear who gets caught up in seeking success, or caught up in seeking after his own selfish needs. And that's where I was in life before I met my wife, before my daughter came along. I was just trying to be the absolute best skier to have ever existed. And that's all I cared about. I didn't care about the beauty around me. I didn't care about all the things that I had been given, and I was lost. And so my wife entered my life, the butterfly flew into my life, and she just brightened my perspective. And ironically, when I gave up the need for success was when it started hitting me in the face. My daughter, I didn't win my first X Games until after my daughter was born, and I would have never written the story like that. I always thought that I was going to settle down and get married late in life, but here I was with 21 years old with a little 3-month-old at the X Games, and my first X Games gold medal, and my daughter sitting on my lap, and I'm not sure which one I care about more. I certainly know which one I care about more, and it was the daughter, not the gold medal, and that has changed the trajectory of my entire career because it's given me so much balance. She's enabled me, my family has enabled me to have this level of balance that nobody can compete with, because to them, they're still out there seeking glory the same way I was before I had my family. But I have this total alternate perspective on things, and at the end of the day, if I fail, if I don't land my runs, I'm still content. My source of contentment doesn't come from success on a pair of skis. So that's my long version of what the book is all about, but it's a fun story. A friend of mine did the illustrations. He's a super talented tattoo artist, and so it has kind of that edgy, tattoo-y feel to the illustrations, because I felt like that was what I wanted to embrace. It's like, yeah, I am a husband and father, but I'm also kind of, a badass skier. Like, that's what I think is, I like to take risks. I like to push the limits. So it's a cute story, but it also has that edge to it too.
All right, and people can buy it now here locally?
Yeah, you can buy it on my website, MrDavidWise.com. The publisher is Children Leading Children. We're going to have stores locally, but I'm not sure which ones.
Very cool. Okay, well, I'm not sure how much time we have left, but maybe do you have a favorite part that you could share with us? Just like a quick little excerpt you'd read for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. My favorite character, ironically, is not me or the butterfly. I mean, those are my favorite characters in life, but my favorite character is the bad guy in the story, Slip the Weasel.
Slick the Weasel.
Slip the Weasel.
Slip the Weasel.
You can see she's pretty devious.
All right.
One day, Very Bear caught Slip the Weasel teasing a pair of mice by dangling blackberries in front of them, only to snatch them up before they could take a bite. Very Bear lost his temper. It made him mad when the strong picked on the weak. "Stop that," Very Bear said, after he exploded from behind Slip. "See how it feels to get picked on by someone bigger than you?" He grabbed her by the scruff of the neck and hurled her into the pond.
Okay.
So that's the beginning of Very Bear's very rough winter. Is because he makes an enemy that he should not have made, and then the story gets more fun from there.
All right, David Wise, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I so appreciate meeting you and having you on the show and getting to hold your gold medal. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, that is it for us. Face the State will be back right after the break.